Mr. Chairman, good morning. So once again, I'm Yves Gonzalez, Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google in the Philippines. It's an honor to be able to share with you today how YouTube combats the spread of misinformation on the platform using our 4Rs responsibility framework. This is something that we consider core to our responsibility work. It is a complex and difficult challenge, but something that we're committed to tackling. YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. Over the past 20 years, YouTube has grown into a platform where billions of monthly users are sharing and learning from one another with over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. YouTube addresses the challenges of misinformation using the 4Rs responsibility framework. Remove content that violates YouTube's policies, raise up authoritative sources for news and information, reduce recommendations of borderline content, and reward trusted creators. By employing this framework, YouTube seeks to balance its commitments to preserving an open internet and being a positive contributor to a safe, healthy, and well-informed society. Certain types of misleading or deceptive content with serious risk of egregious harm are not allowed on YouTube and are removed. This includes certain types of misinformation that can cause real-world harm, election misinformation, and medical misinformation. General misinformation includes certain types of technically manipulated content that can cause real-world harm, such as content that has been technically manipulated or doctored in a way that misleads users and may pose a serious risk of egregious harm, for example, deepfakes. Misattributed content that may pose a serious risk of egregious harm by falsely claiming that footage from a past event is from a current one, which experts on this committee have previously referred to as malinformation. We also prohibit certain types of content that may negatively impact free and fair democratic elections. This can include content that could materially discourage voting, content that advances false claims related to the technical eligibility requirements for current political candidates, and incitement to interfere with democratic processes. YouTube also doesn't allow content that poses a serious risk of harm by spreading medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or the World Health Organization's guidance. Enforcing policies is a nuanced decision-making process. It is important to underscore that YouTube protects videos that have a clear educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic purpose, together called EDSA exceptions. To help determine whether a video might qualify for an EDSA exception, we look at multiple factors including the video title, descriptions, and the context provided in the video's audio or imagery. But this is not a free pass to spread harmful misinformation or promote hateful rhetoric. Everyone is subject to our community guidelines, from private citizens to the most visible public figures. We release a quarterly community guidelines enforcement report, which gives insights into the volume of flags and actions we take on content that violates our policies and the impact that technology has in aiding that enforcement. In the third quarter of 2024, we removed over 9.1 million videos for violating our policies, 4.8 million channels, and 1.3 billion comments. In the third quarter of 2024, over 80,000 videos globally were removed for violating our misinformation policies. Content that violates our guidelines is flagged by a mix of automated detection and human reporting. Around 97% were automatically flagged by AI systems, 2% were flagged by users, and 1% flagged by organizations and government agencies. In addition to removing content that violates our policies, we also track the percentage of views on YouTube that are generated by this content. We refer to this metric as the violative view rate, or VVR. VVR is our North Star for measuring our progress on removing content that violates community guidelines as quickly as possible. In the third quarter of 2024, the VVR was 0.11% until 0.12%, meaning that for every 10,000 views of content on YouTube, only 11 to 12 of those views are of violative content. YouTube also elevates authoritative sources for news and information and provides context for viewers. YouTube raises authoritative voices for newsworthy events in search results and watch panels. Another example is the breaking news shelf. When a major breaking news event happens, the breaking news shelf appears directly on the homepage, featuring relevant videos from authoritative news sources. Similarly, if a viewer searches for a particular news topic on YouTube, they will see a top news shelf near the top of the results, featuring relevant videos from authoritative sources. The same goes for health-related searches. When you search for a specific topic, such as diabetes, for example, our health content shelf will highlight videos that come from authoritative sources. YouTube also equips our users with additional context to help them make their own decisions about the content that they consume. To do this, YouTube highlights text-based information about certain events, topics, and publishers from third-party sources using information panels across YouTube. This can be related to evergreen topics prone to misinformation or to provide information about the publishers themselves, for example, whether they are funded in whole or in part by a government. Across all of these topics, we aim to surface content that will be helpful to individual users. YouTube now also requires creators to disclose to viewers when realistic content a viewer could easily mistake for a real person, place, scene, or event is made with altered or synthetic media, including generative AI. Labels that reflect this disclosure will then appear. For most videos, a label will appear in the expanded description. But for videos that touch on more sensitive topics like health, news, elections, or finance, YouTube will also show a more prominent label on the video itself. In some cases, YouTube may also add a label even when a creator hasn't disclosed it, especially if the use of altered or synthetic content has the potential to confuse or mislead viewers. Just as we work to raise authoritative content where accuracy and authoritativeness are key, we also strive to reduce the spread of content that, while not violating our policies, can still misinform users in harmful ways. This might include conspiracy theory videos or content that brushes the line of what is acceptable. While this content can remain on YouTube, we don't recommend it to users or surface it prominently in search results. Finally, for 15 years, YouTube has had a revenue sharing model, the YouTube Partner Program or YPP. YouTube views monetization on its platform as a privilege. Creators must be accepted into YPP to be eligible to monetize their content. A key eligibility requirement for YPP is to follow YouTube's monetization policies, which include our community guidelines, terms of service, and advertiser-friendly guidelines. These policies apply to creators' channels as a whole and not just to individual videos. Over the past few years, YouTube has taken steps to strengthen the requirement for monetization so that spammers, impersonators, and other bad actors can't hurt the system or take advantage of creators meeting the eligibility requirements. Because of this unique model, YouTube has a natural, long-term incentive to live up to its responsibility. Advertisers, viewers, creators, and media partners do not want to be associated with harmful content. YouTube works hard every day to make the right calls on balancing openness and responsibility, and its advertisers, users, and creators hold YouTube accountable. For more information, we are sharing these 3 links for the benefit of the committee. With that, thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to share our inputs with this committee today. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Yves Gonzalez. Would there be any questions from the members of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification.
Yes, Barbara's reference.
Yes, Attorney Gonzalez, would you be able to tell this committee kung how many of our vloggers or the ones that use the YouTube social media platform are able to monetize? Would you be able to tell us that? And if you can, what is the ballpark figure of the amount of the revenues that these vloggers make?
Mr. Chairman, I think tens of thousands of Filipino creators are in the YouTube partnership program.
And all of them are monetizing?
Once you are in the YouTube partnership program, then that means that you are monetizing your content.
And would you be able to tell us, give us a ballpark figure as to how much revenues do these vloggers make?
I think the Google, as a public company, is able to disclose its revenues, but I would not have the ability to give you the specific details for the Philippines.
I understand, yeah. But the reason why I asked that, Mr. Chair, is because we'd like to find out what motivates the vloggers, the so-called vloggers. I'm not generalizing, but what I'm saying is that there are very few of them who actually are motivated by the monetization by these social media platforms. And the only objective is to generate engagements, a higher number of engagements, in order to convert this to cash. Tama, di ba? I think that's the motivation of some of these vloggers who peddle fake news. And you know naman how it is, no? When a fake news is being posted online, people has different reactions. One would probably, if one sees it, probably would say, "Totoo ba ito?" Or the other would say, "Ay, totoo ito. Kasi galing ito kay ganyan." Or would say na, "Teka nga, tanong ko nga kay ipasa ko ito." So that creates engagements and increases the number of people who actually has seen a post that could be fake or could be false. So, anong mechanism meron si YouTube to be able to limit, if not eliminate, these kinds of peddling of falsehoods?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to share some relevant provisions of the advertiser-friendly guidelines which all YouTube creators need to comply with. So some of the things prohibited are inappropriate language, shocking content, hateful and derogatory content, as well as incendiary and demeaning content.
Does YouTube recognize vulgar languages or let's say yung pagmumura? Does YouTube consider this as obscene, vulgar, therefore gives them the right to take it down?
In certain cases, that might fall under incendiary and demeaning. So let me just read what is stated. Content that is gratuitously incendiary, inflammatory, or demeaning may not be suitable for advertising.
Okay, so kasi the reason why I asked that, parang it seems that napapabayaan natin yung mga nagmumura eh. Di ba? Kung yung taong na nagmumura, na gumagamit, nagpo-post ng kanilang mga content online ay nagmumura, karakter na ho nila yun. Maaaring pinalaki sila ng mga magulang nila na pinayagan silang magmura. Pero the question is there a mechanism? Yung YouTube ba, pagka nakita niyang nagmumura, yan, kahit man lang sana yung toot, di ba, yung merong, paano tawag doon? Yung, imbes na nagpatuloy yung nagmumura, parang, yung parang ini-stop yung word na yun or something. Meron ba kayong ganong mechanism?
So as mentioned, if the content of the creator is already violative of our advertiser-friendly guidelines, YouTube might enforce some monetization policies.
Yeah, but do they recognize yung vulgar languages na Tagalog, which gives them a ground to take it down? Do they recognize that?
YouTube does have language experts in Filipino and other local dialects.
So these are not AI-generated, kumbaga, hindi nila tinatranslate. Walang mechanism na
we use a
ganun.
combination of both machine learning and AI-assisted technologies, but at the same time, we also do have human reviewers who are fluent in the local dialects.
So human reviewers. So it's still dependent pa rin siya sa mga human reviewers.
Combination, Your Honor.
Okay, kasi alam mo, I'm sure you will agree with me na maraming mga vloggers na para lang maka-generate ng mapansin, ika nga, no? Nagmumura, no? In fact, bastos di ba? Hindi naman natin sila masisisi o hindi natin masisisi kung paano sila pinalaki ng kanilang mga magulang dahil siguro pinalaki silang bastos di ba? Yun nga ang sinabi sa akin ni Congressman Marcoleta na hindi dapat ganun. Dahil alam mo, tinuturuan natin yung ating mga anak na maging magalang, di ba? Na maging respectful. Hindi yung bulgar na bastos. Di ba, aling batikusin ka, huwag ka lang magmumura. Kasi subukan mong sabihin sa akin harapan yung ganun. Anong pakiramdam mo? Di ba? Pero kung online, kung magmura, kala mo ang tapang. Di ba? Kaya nga sabi ni Congressman Marcoleta sa akin, hindi dapat pinapayagan yung mga ganun. Because we have laws. Lalo na kung defamatory. Tapos may kasama pang mura. Bakit hindi kayo magmura harapan, di ba? Pupunta kayo rito, hanapin nyo kami, magmura kayo, something like that. Tingnan natin ano mangyayari. Away itong mangyayari. Kung magharap-harapan kahit nagmumurahan kayo, di ba? Alam mo naman, hindi naman normal yung ganun. Ngayon, because of the advent of social media, people like perhaps maybe expressing their dissent or maybe dislike to a person, to an institution, to an organization by using vulgar language. Di ba? Siguro, pagka ganun yung tao na mura ng mura, hindi mo naman natin masabing walang pinag-aralan yun. Wala lang pinagkatandaan malamang, no? At hindi dinidisiplina ng magulang niya. Kawawa ang magulang nun. Nakakahiya. Di ba? Nakakahiya na yung anak mo bastos, ganyan. Kung magsalita pa ng mga kabastusan, parang walang anak na mga babae. And that is the reason why I asked that if ever there are mechanisms in that social platform that can control that. If not, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so let me reiterate, all content monetizing with ads must follow our advertiser-friendly content guidelines. And one of the advertiser-friendly guidelines is inappropriate language. Content that contains profanity or vulgarity at the start or throughout the majority of the video may not be suitable for advertising. And some of the enforcement mechanisms that can happen to a creator that violates these policies are: number 1, withhold, adjust, chargeback, or offset earnings or payment. Number 2, limit ad revenue from the video. Number 3, suspend participation in the YouTube Partnership Program. And finally, suspend or even terminate the YouTube channel.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chair. I hope you don't mind. My colleagues would not mind. I just wanted to ask, why do you monetize? Why? What is the logic behind monetization? Because if you monetize, this probably is the main motivator or the main motivation of these people who are engaged in these kinds of ads in the YouTube. Bakit kayo nagmo-monetize?
Mr. Chair, monetization through advertising is what pays for the service. So the ability for YouTube to be able to provide a free service to billions of people all around the world is supported by advertising.
So basically, it's advertising.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So commercial. Tama? So talagang generation of revenues. Di ba? So that's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney.
Any other member who would like to ask questions from Attorney Gonzalez?
Mr. Chair, not a question, but a clarification.
Clarification?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify for the committee, wala po yung TikTok and ano po yung sabi natin? Si Facebook. Mr. Chair, just to clarify, wala pong Facebook and TikTok attending po today, no?
Comsec?
Excuse letter from legal counsel representing Meta Platform. They
To answer your question, Your Honor, we have invited Meta Platform Incorporated, which has Facebook. And according to the letter, Facebook Philippines does not own, operate, control, or host the Facebook services or the Instagram services in the Philippines. So I think, Your Honor, we have to send an invitation to Meta Platform Incorporated in the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We just wanted to see clarification po, no? What other platforms are here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They also asked to be excused. They are in Singapore. The communications. Po sila. Sa Singapore po sila.
Okay, thank you. Before we proceed, please allow the chair to recognize the presence of the Honorable Franz Castro, and online, the Honorable Arnan Panaligan. Welcome po kayo sa hearing.
Mr. Chair, I have,
Yes,
yeah.
Before you proceed, Your Honor, and online we also have the presence of the Honorable Romanti Romulo. Please proceed, Honorable Castro.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Follow up lang, Mr. Chair, dun sa questions ni Representative Barbers as regards to the monetization of content sa online, no? Particularly YouTube, right? So, I'm just curious po. So, namamonetize po yung, depende yun sa viewers, tama ba? Or sa advertisement na pumapasok doon sa content noong content creator. Are you saying? Kasi sabi niyo po, may namamonetize yung mga content noong mga creators.
Opo.
So, based doon sa mga pumapasok na advertisement. So, the whole thing is advertisement. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, monetization happens primarily through advertisements that appear on videos either before or in the middle of the video.
Yeah, so who got to pay or who pay the content creator? Kasi 'di ba sinasabi na ma-monetize. So sino ang nagbabayad sa kanila?
Si Google LLC po, the entity based the main entity based in the United States is the one that pays
So
YouTube
in
creators.
dollar
Yes, Mr. Chair.
converted to peso. So would you know paano po nakukuha yung tax? So kung merong mang tax na nade-derive from that income sa mga content creator, would you know, Sir Chair?
Mr. Chair, so the creators nominate a bank account for their earnings, and the creators would usually be the ones to voluntarily declare their taxes with their local Internal Revenue Service.
So lahat po ng nababayarang mga content creator, are you monitoring din po kung they are paying taxes to our government?
Mr. Chair, on the part of YouTube, we do not, and we believe that the local Internal Revenue Service are the ones who are monitoring that.
So do we have, Mr. Chair, invited guests from the BIR or resource person from the BIR, Mr. Chair?
We have, Your Honor.
So may I ask the BIR, how do you monitor po yung mga income, mga taxes derived from the income generated by the content creator, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as stated by our colleague, we rely only on the voluntary declaration of the influencers insofar as their income, because there will be great difficulty in monitoring the same, considering that their income primarily comes from foreign income payers. So what we do, Mr. Chair, is we audit and investigate the influencers, and we request data from the foreign tax jurisdictions who we have existing treaties of exchange of information with, and we cross-check or we compare the information that we receive from foreign tax jurisdictions or the other countries and their declared income tax returns. And from there, we determine how much they really earn and how much they really declared. That's Mr.
Mr. Chair, at the BIR, are we not doing our job well or we remiss? Kasi bakit sinasabi yung voluntary? Kasi andyan naman yung yung platform, yung Google Philippines o yung YouTube. You can ask from them yung mga list ng mga nag-generate ng income. So bakit nag-aantay tayo ng voluntary from the content creator? Di ba, Mr. Chair, meron na tayong naipasang batas for that. So, can you clarify that, BIR? So, pwede po bang, parang hindi po kasi ako satisfied doon sa voluntary lang na na ginagawa. At kayo naman ay parang nag-aantay lang.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, under existing tax laws, we cannot just investigate any taxpayer. As per existing tax laws, audits are done randomly or based on those who are classified as high risk. Classified as high risk. That is why we cannot just audit any taxpayer. So we prioritize those who are only classified as high risk.
So, why not? Baka merong loopholes, Mr. Chair, doon sa ating batas, doon sa BIR. Kasi nga, di ba gusto natin talaga na to generate revenue from those engagements. So, yun na po, Mr. Chair, yung follow-up natin sa YouTube. So, yun na lang po, Mr. Chair. Baka in our in aid of legislation, we have to review yung sinasabi ng ating BIR resource person na wala doon sa kanilang mandate, yung talagang regular ba o random lang yung kanilang pag-investigate and monitoring, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. BIR, what exactly is the law governing this?
Mr. Chair, the tax code as amended and our implementing rules and regulations, or the revenue regulations, Mr. Chair.
Are you aware of Revenue Memorandum Circular number 97/2021?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O hindi po ba yun yung, ano po ba ang title ng Memorandum Circular na yun?
Mr. Chair, taxation of any income received by social media influencers.
So it's very specific na ito ang kwan. Sinusunod po ng BIR
Yes, Mr. Chair.
vis-a-vis tax payments of social media influencers.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I know if you have been implementing this since 2021?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Could you please submit to this committee a report of how many social media influencers have been taxed by BIR?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We will submit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a clarification again sa YouTube, no? Paano nagkakaroon ng monetization? May required number of views, shares, hours? Please educate us. How do they monetize that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, let me just share some of the requirements for the YouTube Partnership Program. So, number one, definitely the first is to follow the YouTube channel monetization policies. Some of it I've provided. In terms of technical eligibility, so the requirement is, number one, get 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 valid public watch hours in the last 12 months. So again, 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 valid public watch hours in the last 12 months.
Oh, wait, question. So, assuming I put up my own YouTube channel, is that what you call it?
Yes, sir, Mr.
And
Chair.
then I must have, what, 1,000 subscribers
That's the first step.
and
Mr. Chair.
4,000 hours of
4,000 valid public watch hours. And when we say this, Mr. Chair, kasi for example, if your watch hours are bots, then that would not be a valid public watch hour. If you're trying to game the system,
would you be able to determine whether these are bots or not?
so YouTube would have the necessary technical capabilities.
So you have that technical capability.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ang tanong, next question, ano naman ang accountability halimbawa ng YouTube? Assuming that your channel is being used as a purveyor of fake news, and then you discovered that merong anong accountability ng platform?
So, Mr. Chair, again, I guess depends on the jurisdiction that would be concerned. So, for example, Mr. Chair, if of course, Mr. Chair, it would be different if the channel is in the United States versus in Singapore, for example, which has POFMA, as discussed in the previous hearing. So, Mr. Chair, depends on the laws in the jurisdiction of the channel concerned.
And it's like, it's as if you're saying that we're helpless in trying to impose accountability to the platform kapag ka ito ay abroad, no?
No, Mr. Chair, no naman. I'll give an example, Mr. Chair. The Philippines passed a law against OSAIC, expanded OSAIC law. And on the expanded OSAIC law, there are specific platform obligations on that law. And so in that specific expanded OSAIC law, it imposes liability and accountability on the platforms that could host OSAIC content.
Okay. For those companies that advertise sa YouTube, no, do they pay you? Do they pay YouTube?
They pay YouTube, the platform operator. Yes, sir. Yes,
So they
Mr.
do.
Chair. Yes,
So
Mr. Chair.
assuming a company of Congressman Marcoleta advertises in your platform, they should pay you. They must pay you.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And do you pay taxes for that?
So Google as a company, so of course the mother company, Google LLC. So every Google entity pays the proper taxes in the jurisdiction where it operates.
So in that case, you're paying taxes to the BIR.
For every Google entity, it pays the taxes, the correct legal taxes in the country. So for the Philippines,
Yes or no? Yes,
Yes,
lang.
yes.
Yes, you're paying. So you have records of tax payments to our BIR.
yes.
Okay. BIR, is that true? Can you monitor how many ads that the platform actually gains? BIR? Parang kayo mismo, hindi nyo alam eh.
Wala.
Ano ba naman?
Hindi ko alam yung circular eh.
Ayan, use the mic beside you.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, insofar as the ad revenue specifically,
So you monitor how many ads, magkanong payments nila, and you have that record sa BIR.
no, Mr. Chair, unfortunately.
Paano yun? Yes, sige, attorney. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so Google, the entities in the Philippines, Google Philippines, and other entities in the Philippines, they do not own nor operate the YouTube platform. And so that's why the taxes that we pay to the BIR are the ones only proper to the local entities, so not the advertising. So the advertising is done not by the platform is not operated by the local entity.
But you make money out of the ads that are being shown in the channel, right? Sa platform nyo.
Google LLC does.
Yes. Just my example is that when, let's say, the company of Congressman Marcoleta magkaroon ng ads sa inyo, he has to pay you.
Mr. Chair, not Google Philippines, not Google Philippines.
So who does he pay to?
Mr. Chair, that's a very legitimate area of inquiry, but that's a different matter altogether.
No, Mr. Chair, with
We're
all
about
due
to
respect
discuss
to my
abusive platforms.
with all
Come on,
due respect to my senator, Mr. Chair, the reason why I asked that, this is a relevant issue because we are contemplating on maybe perhaps asking all the social media platforms to secure a franchise in this Congress, because we want to make sure that it's not just the platforms who make money, but also the Philippine government. That's one. Number two, if you are under the franchise of this government, then you will toe the line. Sorry, I do not mean toe the line, meaning you will be subject to the regulations and then the rules that will be imposed under this law. And I think I'm pretty sure that no less than our Senator Marcoleta would be more than willing to author that kind of a law. Mr. Chairman.
No. Before we proceed further, please allow the chair to recognize the presence online of the following members of the committee: the Honorable Celso Regencia, the Honorable Jordan Jesus Romualdo, and the Honorable Francisco Paulo Ortega. Yes, Chairman Joboy, your
just a quick interjection, just very germane to the question of
with the indulgence of the Honorable
Chairman Joboy.
Yes, please
Yes, I'd
proceed.
like to ask you to, before we move on to another topic, I'd like to ask, do you have an arrangement with other platforms insofar as maintaining your guidelines and standard of that standard where you remove violative or abusive or harmful contents, no, with other platforms? Do you have that mechanism? I mean, that arrangement?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Depending on the type of content, I'll give an example. There are some, for example, for OSAIC, or what internationally is known as CSAM. There is technology sharing wherein if one platform already detects that a piece of content is CSAM, the hash of that is shared among the technology coalition. So there are coordination for particular types of illegal content.
Okay, so halimbawa lang, do you have also a uniform or universal agreement where, say for example, YouTube, kasi there are also contents uploaded on TikTok and on Facebook that can also be uploaded on YouTube. So say for example, if the content is uploaded on TikTok, tapos meron silang, you have also a shared mechanism agreement with the TikTok and in-upload doon, certain guidelines from your company might not necessarily be applied to the different companies that you have an arrangement of sharing technology, sharing information with. So paano nyo na-drive out, and how do you maintain, for example, that standard of guidelines na pag yung something that is not accepted on YouTube may not necessarily be the same with TikTok, tapos in-upload sa TikTok, tapos pupunta sa, pwede niya i-upload sa YouTube. Paano po yung ganong Kasi that would also generate monetization, di ba? And that would also spell out how you would really police your own community, no? Na hindi siya maging violative doon sa mismong standard na gusto nyong i-uphold, no? I-maintain.
Mr. Chair, so every platform would have its own community guidelines.
Yes.
So every platform would have its own rules.
Yes, I understand that. But how do you strike, for example, the balance between a common understanding that this kind of content, whether it's uploaded on TikTok, and therefore pwede mag-appear sa YouTube kasi mayroon kayong arrangement ng share of information, cannot also be a violative of your own standard ng pag-maintain ng healthy content at hindi siya abusive. How do you strike that balance? How do you maintain that kind of ethical standard, if we may use the term, no, in your own community?
So as Mr. Chair has mentioned, there are certain types of content where that is possible, and that I would say CSAM/OSAEC is where
But
that
do you
is
have that
possible.
kind of mechanism where TikTok, if it's posted on, uploaded on TikTok, tapos pag i-upload sa YouTube, halimbawa, or i-share sa YouTube, violative na from the very start yung content, hindi nyo ipapakita. Do you have that kind of mechanism right now?
So, Mr. Chair, as mentioned, not for all types of content, not for all violations. Specifically, technical coordination like that happens for CSAM/OSAEC. But for example, if it's policies as to vulgarity, for example, vulgarity, there's no technical coordination happening between the platforms with their own independent community guidelines.
Thank you, thank you. Kasi ganun po yung nangyayari eh. Hindi lang ho sa YouTube, minsan na-upload sa ibang platforms tapos nag-appear sa ibang channels. So, sometimes, kung ano yung hindi po pwede sa kanila, tapos po pwede dun sa kabila, dun natin malalaman kung talagang napupulis ba yung kanilang ranks para hindi po violative sa kanilang community at hindi magamit ito na loophole para bawal sa'yo, dito ko nila upload since meron silang arrangement, meron silang, mag-appear din sa kabilang channel. So, wala kayong ganon, no? Wala po. No? Just on record.
Mr. Chair,
Wala.
not for all types of
Okay.
content.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.